Sarah here from Embolden Adventures. I'm coming to you to talk about Ceremony 6, the Ayahuasca ceremony, in a series of 7 Ayahuasca ceremonies we have done over the course of almost 2 weeks now here in Iquitos, Peru, in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. It's been quite a journey, I'd say. We're not quite done yet. We still have one more tonight, the grand finale, the Arcana ceremony, as they call it. And we just, nicely went on a quick plant tour around the facility here, the retreat center, with the Maestras and the Maestros. Benito, Richard, Olga, and Teresa took us on a tour, and they showed us where ayahuasca grows naturally, the chacharuna leaf that they use as well as part of the brew, and other sort of medicinal plants and ornamental plants around the retreat center, the grounds. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful to be immersed in the rainforest. It's beautiful to be basically off-grid for 2 weeks. I've still yet to know of any news. I've yet to read an email. It's really nice to not be connected. I don't know anything going on. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day, and we pre-ordered these cocoa balls up in the village yesterday, and I think it's fitting that I could have my first taste of chocolate tomorrow after the ceremony tonight is done. We've been on a very strict dieta. We've been a little bit sleep deprived. We really haven't been eating like we typically do in the three-dimensional world that I left in New York City. No sugar, no salt, no red meat, no oils, no pork, definitely no pork, no spicy foods, everything very plain, eating cleanly. And all that is helping us cleanse and prepare for these ayahuasca ceremonies. Number 6 was much different from the last 5. Number 6 was a more of an experiential ceremony rather than a psychedelic visual that I was seeing a lot of ceremonies 1 through 5. And to recap, ceremony 1 was more of an introduction. It was a fun, life is amazing, and there's a multi-dimensional world beyond what we know and understand, and it was very joyous. It was fun. I was being kind of playful. I flew around areas in my mind's eye where I lived and saw friends, and went into dreams of others. It was a bit of an adventure. And then ceremony 2 was really where that demon came out to cleanse all these kind of pent-up anxieties and fears and angers and base level emotions that really belong in the three-dimensional world. When you raise your vibration, you're actually raising it up to a higher dimension, a higher consciousness. And they say that in yoga, you want to raise your vibration. And only what really belongs there at higher vibrations is love, compassion, positive experiences and feelings and emotions that serve, you well, more so than anger and hate and impatience and fear and, jealousy. All those are lower vibrational frequencies. So ceremony 2 was a little bit of that, and then ceremony 3, it was cleansing. Ceremony 2 was cleansing. Ceremonies 4, 5, and 6 have been realigning your energy and bringing you kind of back to center after you've kind of purged out the toxicities that this life that I left, built up inside of me. Fears, anger, resentment, conditioning, the sense of having to work hard, really hard, too hard, and not be balanced. Not eating a clean diet, gorging yourself on sugars and caffeines and, drugs and all this other stuff that we do that harm ourselves. Negative thinking, this kind of just unbearable cycle that we all live in, that hamster wheel, the rat race. All that is a condition of society. And this helps to purge a lot of that. Hopefully all of it. It feels like a lot of us have really kind of transcended, and we're leaving here as better, new and improved, hopefully permanently improved people. So ceremony 6 for me, like I said, it was more experiential. It felt like a relief. Like ceremony 5 at the end, I kind of put my hands up and felt like victory. You know, I approached it almost with fear and sadness, and I was almost in a panic state during our pre-ceremony yoga. I was worried about kind of surrendering entirely and embarking on the unknown. I knew I was going to come back no matter what, but it's still scary. It's almost as if you're about to die, and you're like, well, what is that like? What is it to finally say goodbye and let go? It's that feeling. You know, the ayahuasca spirit, the divine energy comes into you. I mean, it's a real energy. It feels real. And you let go, and you're in this kind of multi-dimensional universe. You know, things don't make sense. It's fractals, it's colors, it's visions, it's profound, you know, realizations. It's an identity that everything is connected. It's a kind of higher consciousness. It's God. You know, I saw God. I got to meet God, I think, for the first time. I cleared out everything I put in between me and God. That was ceremony 5. Ceremony 6 was more confirming that. And I hope ceremony 7 is going to be more of that, the bliss side of it, the blissness of God. But ceremony 6 yesterday felt like I was initiated. You know, when you join a sorority or fraternity, it felt like this was an initiation now. Now that we kind of did the hard stuff of cleansing and kind of reprogramming, it now comes the fun part of welcoming us to the club. And that's what I kept repeating in my head. I'm like, welcome to the club. I'm in the club. And it feels like those that are in the club are kind of revolutionary thinkers, those that really have a core sense of self despite what society tells them. They aren't swayed by mainstream. They aren't beholden to the machine, I guess, if you want to call it that, the institution. It's rage against the machine, but without the rage. That's what I was saying. It's a way to say, you know what, like, I'm not going to be brainwashed. I'm not going to be gaslighted. I'm not going to be controlled by capitalism, by these kind of societies I've been born into. You know, I have control of my life, and yet I still have to live in this world. There's no escaping it. I do know that there's a God here and a divine presence and a multiverse that is beyond what we can see, feel, hear, touch, sense, you know, with our 5 senses, that there is something beyond what we know and feel and understand in the waking day. And we're opening up to this. Our third eye is opening up. Our kind of psychic powers are opening up. Our ability to sense and feel and, you know, understand just very intuitively. Our intuition is really kind of what leads us to know that there's something beyond, you know, this day in and day out, 24/7, you know, kind of rigmarole. And we don't have to be part of the machine. Like, we can choose to live the life we want, and it's easy. Well, easy is not an easy word. I don't know what I'm going to do when I get back. I think I have ideas, but it's definitely kind of helped me see that I want to be a responsible person. I want to, you know, be a wife and a mother. I want to, you know, be a caretaker for my family. I want to step up in society. I think it's time. But I also know that there is a God, which was never a new real revelation for me. That was one of the things I hope I'd walk away from, to know that this isn't a drug. It doesn't feel like a drug. This is definitely much, much more than that. But to know that there's this, you know, loving energy, this presence that's got our back, the universe. So yeah, so I feel like I joined the club, and I was going through my mind's eye, like, who's part of this club? Elon Musk is part of this club. George Washington's part of this club. You know, my yoga teacher is part of this club. Madonna is part of this club. Dr. Dre, Eminem. We all kind of know, it feels like, that there's something more, and we can achieve whatever we want that our hearts desire, but at the same time, there's also responsibility along with it, that there's a bigger purpose in this world, but it's our responsibility to rise up to the challenge. Like, we don't have to be enslaved to a system, you know, the boss, the 9 to 5 or more, you know, year-end reviews, you know, like materialism, you know, being addicted to sugar and being addicted to alcohol and caffeine, Dunkin' Donuts extra large coffees, you know. We've really cleansed our bodies to realize that that stuff, when we come back to the real world, is going to be beyond potent. Like, they were telling us today in kind of the talk we've had after breakfast was, you know, kind of re-engaging back into the world. Integration, they call it. And integration is going to be very critical, because integration includes like a daily practice. It includes some sort of way to continue to connect to this energy, to this spirit, to this experience. Because I'm going to come back and say, eventually sit on my couch and watch TV and be like, wait a minute, was this all a dream? It felt like the movie Avatar. Was that real? I mean, it is real because I'm making videos. Thankfully, I have something to document. I also have this that Olga gave me as part of the talk today. This is ayahuasca. This is actually the root. And you could see it has petals when you cut it. You know, you slice it. It has 6 petals and a center. So this is definitely something I can hold on to. Olga prayed it into my hand and whispered some ikros into it. It's something I'm going to hold on to. As well as the Rao Initi, which is the perfume that they've been singing to, the Florida kind of perfume. So that is something we can hold on to when we come home. And the scent will bring us, always reminding us of this experience. And it's almost like holy water, because if, like, for whatever reason I run out, like, I could refill it with some other sort of like perfume or alcohol-based liquid, and it continues to have its essence. That's what they believe, the Shipibo people, that, you know, what the ikros they sang into the bottle throughout these 6 ceremonies, and ceremony number 7, which is going to be the most important one, to bring our Rao Initi perfume to ceremony tonight. That's going to be something we can always have with us forever throughout our lives. I am excited to see this come to an end. I feel really relieved, and that was yesterday's kind of, in ceremony 6. It had kind of a light vibe, a good light air amongst the Maloka, amongst all 23 of us. I feel like we've gone through the gauntlet. We've achieved something really tough. This isn't very easy to do. We've all been talking about how hard this is. Like, it's hard enough to even decide to want to do this in the first place. It's hard enough to even then say, okay, well, how am I going to do this? Where am I going to go? What kind of places am I going to kind of seek out? And then it's hard enough to put your deposit down and then book your flight and then go through with it, because there's so much that goes into the pre-work and now the post-work. And I think, thankfully, I'm going to Bolivia after this, because going directly back to New York City is not going to be easy. The idea of being in Central Park right now is stressful. And I think Central Park is a calm place in New York. We're very sensitive right now. You know, we haven't eaten the kind of unhealthy foods that society has for us, like pizza and chocolate cake and alcohol, nice tall glass of, you know, red wine, you know, all that stuff, caffeine. All that stuff is going to really hit our system like hard. Sugar. I'm really excited to get the chocolate balls that we ordered in the village yesterday. It's, I think, fitting that tomorrow's Valentine's Day, so I'm going to have my first taste of chocolate in, I think, almost a month and a half tomorrow, that they made in the village. It has like honey and cacao from, you know, we went on our plant tour just now with the Maestros and Maestras, and Richard showed me a cacao seed pod where chocolate comes from, and it's grown right here. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah, so the ceremony. So I felt like I got initiated yesterday, like a sorority. And in that kind of vision I was having, it also felt like I saw a lot of signs at university. So I went to Cornell undergrad, and, you know, a lot of kind of experiences I had at school also kind of showed me that all along I've been leading this path. Like, I took a material science class. That's kind of a sign that I was getting more into, you know, the kind of the electron level of how materials are created, silicon, wafers, and solar panels. Like we studied all that like on a more kind of electron and proton level. And, you know, the university back then was a radical idea for a lot of people. It was an ability for anyone, male or female, to have an education and to open your horizons. So I kind of feel like I said, this is a club, and a lot of cool people, I feel, may be in this club, and it's a great way to, you know, not be part of the masses, not be falling into those predictable ways again and feeling stuck, feeling lost, getting depressed, you know, feeling lonely, feeling isolated, you know, just your body's like really getting put through a ringer, just in all the crap we consume and all the social media, all the busy noise, the unhealthy lifestyles, the self-medicating, the kind of gluttonous ways, the greed, ego, the unchecked ego, you know, destruction of the environment, just being unbalanced. And that's why integration is going to be important, because it's going to help me kind of center again and say, okay, well, how do I live in a world like this? How do I continue to feel balanced and centered? Yoga, meditation, prayer, connection to nature, being in nature, maybe even changing my ways, maybe even moving and leaving New York. But, you know, nothing came like that. There's no like magic bullet because I took ayahuasca 6 times already. It's not like that. It's going to come slowly and gradually, and it's a way for me to trust my inner voice among anything else, above all else, that I'm ultimately going to know what's best for me, and I'm going to act with confidence and courage about, you know, what that path I need to take should be. Not because I have a job and I have a boss that tells me I need to do this, or I need to come to work and do this and do that and do this and do that and do this and do that. You know, be this way, be that way, don't think this way, quiet yourself, be quiet, don't have an opinion. You know, you're being controlled. You're letting the world control you, and you get crazy, and you get upset, and you get trapped, you get stuck, you get, you know, depressed. I don't want that anymore. I want to be in charge. I want to be responsible, and I want to rise up, and I want to do what's right for the higher purpose. And we talked about our calling yesterday, and, you know, my calling is people radiate through God's love. And that came from me seeing the Pope and feeling that warmth, that just love that I never experienced even like to that level before, just because the Pope passed me his fiat. That to me was my own personal experience. It was unique to me. And we all went through, you know, these types of experiences in our lives that were profound, and we translated it into a calling. So I'd like to live my life going forward by people radiating through God's love. And you may believe in God, you may believe in Allah, you may believe in the universe, you may believe in nothing, but you could still radiate through love. And I think my calling is going to be finding a way to connect to that everyday person, to anyone really, whoever, anybody, really, someone at Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. I like Dunks better. You know, I'm going to live with purpose. I'm going to live the way I think that calling feels right. And it's a good thing. I mean, if you want to just knock all of this, you're free to do whatever you want and think that this is crap. I came in thinking that. I wanted to be proven wrong, but I came in with, I thought, a healthy dose of skepticism, and I'm walking away with saying, okay, I was definitely proven wrong. I respect the traditions of the Shipibo people and the Maestros and the Maestras. There is a difference. And last night I could feel it in my body. Like I started to shake once the Ikros started. I was shaking. My whole body was convulsing, and I was laying on my back and I was shivering. My teeth were chattering. But at the same time, I also felt like the stalwart, you know, strong, quiet, patient strength of trees. Like I could feel the tree energy in me. Patience. And it's my favorite quote that had come up a few times in ceremony throughout this experience by Hal Borland. And I tend to butcher it, but I'll paraphrase. It says, knowing the trees, I understand patience, understanding the grass. Oh no, sorry, let me say it again. Hal Borland said the quote, and he said, knowing the trees, I understand patience. Knowing the grass, I appreciate persistence. So I think that's what this journey is going to be, this integration, is patience and persistence. Keep going with it. Every day, keep your, daily practice of yoga, meditation, prayer, sitting in silence, connecting with yourself, connecting with the higher power, going on a walk in nature. Whatever it is, whatever we individually can choose for ourselves. I haven't decided what mine is yet. It's probably going to be prayer at night, or maybe sitting quietly in my chair in my room before I wake up, like for the day. But that's how I'm going to connect, and that's the patience and the persistence all rolled into one. So I was kind of, shaking and teeth were chattering, but I could still see visions of this one really tall oak tree that, my friends, my childhood friends growing up, it was right next to their house, and it was this beautiful swing that was next to on the tree that hung from the branch. And I just kept going to this tree, and I kept thinking it was just this old, proud, very solid tree. And then as I was shaking, I shook it out, I should say, and then eventually it just went down my leg. And next thing I know, by the end of my shaking, it was only my right ankle that was shaking profusely. It was like I was shaking out any sort of excess trauma or hurt or pent up energies. And it's funny because this morning at breakfast, I was so limp. I could hardly walk. And it was really my ankle. My muscles were soft. They weren't it's like they got reprogrammed, and I'm learning to re-walk again, because I broke my ankle when I was in first grade. And, in the beginning of this retreat, I asked for healing, physical healing, and it was really my right side of my body, because the ankle, kind of the way it never really healed properly, it makes me kind of unbalanced a bit. And my whole right side, I've noticed my back, my knee, my neck, it's all kind of adjusted in a way where I have pain every so often. So sorry, excuse me. I was all loose jelly, a limp piece of spaghetti, and kind of wobbling. And people are like, are you okay? I'm like, I am. I'm not dizzy. I'm not in pain. I'm just wobbling. I can't get my leg to be straight. My knee is buckling under me. My ankle's all woozy. My back is kind of off. And I'm trying to walk. I'm trying to say, Sarah, this is just your mind. But it wasn't. Physically, I wasn't being able to walk. Luckily, I was fine now. I was able to do the walking tour.
This is Sarah. Oh yeah. And she's not faking it either.
I'm not faking this.
Is this real?
Yes.
Alright.
My muscles are all loose.
Loose as fuck. This is the ultimate healing retreat.
It's my muscles.
Mm-hmm.
I shook uncontrollably last night. I was shaking.
Yeah.
And then it ended here.
Yeah.
This was shaking.
Oh shit.
And then it came out. But
Poof.
I asked the Maestras for healing.
Yeah.
All my right side of my body. My ankle, which I broke when I was a kid.
Yeah.
To my knee when I did the New York City Marathon.
Mm-hmm.
To my hip that hurts from running.
Oh.
And then this is the last of the healing. And now at breakfast.
And this is the end result. Woo!
Yeah, at breakfast I'm losing all control of my muscles. But it's not dizziness. It's just my muscles are really tired.
Yeah, you just need to have a good rest.
Yeah, they need to regenerate, but I'll be fine. It just started, maybe 30 minutes ago.
All right.
I'll be fine.
You will be fine.
Okay, now,
You are a fighter, Sarah.
Woo! Mentally walk.
Yeah.
But this is how this ayahuasca medicine continues to work in its mysterious ways. She moves in mysterious ways. That's another song quote. All retreat, I've been seeking answers through pop songs. One of them was Bon Jovi, Living on a Prayer. Take my hand, we'll make it, I swear. Whoa, we're living on a prayer. That one's for you, Stephanie. I use that as my mantra, when I was getting nervous. Take my hand, we'll make it, I swear. That's God holding my hand saying, you know what, we can get through this. This is easy. It's a gauntlet. Let's get through it. Trust in me. Take my hand. We'll make it, I swear. Madonna came to me in a dream, and I mentioned last video, Manuela, who was giving us plant remedies in the morning, was wearing a t-shirt that looked like Madonna when I woke up after my dream. And it's kind of a picture of this woman who resembled Madonna in the Like a Prayer video with the black brown hair and the brown dress. And it dawned on me at breakfast that those are the lyrics that I wanted to hold on to. Life is a mystery. Everyone stands alone. I hear you call my name, and it feels like home. And then it says, in the midnight hour, I could feel your power. Just like a prayer, you know I'll take you there. I know the song's based on something else, but the reality to me is it feels like, working with ayahuasca and working with God. So we have Bon Jovi, Living on a Prayer. I was talking about Purple Haze, Jimi Hendrix. She Moves in Mysterious Ways, which is U2. On Achtung Baby, which is one of my favorite songs. I'm trying to think what the other song that I was kind of relying on as well. David Bowie's another one of those that came to mind last night as being part of the club. He lived his life without a care, right? I mean, he was a unique individual, a creative soul who transcends time. And to me, he continues to evolve. And I think most profoundly as his time is Jarrett the Goblin King in Labyrinth. But all those kind of parts of that movie seem relevant to me during this experience with ayahuasca. It also felt really cool when I was in the souks in Marrakesh and Fez. It felt like I was in the labyrinth from that movie. But yeah, David Bowie seems to keep coming up as well in these ayahuasca experiences to me. Yeah, so I was shaking. I shook it out. I felt good. The Icaros seemed different last night too. And the vibe seemed great amongst all of us. I was really tired this morning, and the medicine kept working. It still works. It works until 4 days after you first take it. So it's kind of compounded now within me. Yeah, last night even, once the Icaros were subsided and the Maestros left the Maloka for the evening, I still slept in the Maloka till this morning. I woke up with the birds. And the visions, the kind of thoughts, the kind of deep thoughts of where I want my life to go kept going. It felt so real, like energies, sharing of energies, love, ways I'd like to see my future unfold. It was blissful. So tonight, is Ceremony 7, and that's going to be my intention is, I want to see God's bliss. I really want to truly understand what it's like to be in a blissful state. Michelle has experienced it. I want to experience it. I want to see what's unconditional love no matter what. What's God's grace. That's kind of where I want to go. My other intention last night was to really understand the ancient Egyptian pyramids and the pre-Inca civilizations and all the stuff we see on Ancient Aliens. These kind of stone structures that are unexplainable and maybe were built 12,000 BC, right? And that's where we'll go. We'll be in Tiwanaku in Bolivia in a few days, actually. My brother and his girlfriend had landed in Peru about a day and a half ago, and they should be in Sacred Valley going to Ollantaytambo. Actually, no, today they're at Cusco. Tomorrow they're going to Ollantaytambo, and then off to Machu Picchu, and then I'll meet them in Cusco when I'm done with flying out of Iquitos here on the rainforest. But yeah, our next kind of adventure will be to Tiwanaku and go to see Pumapuku and the Wiracocha Sun Gate, the sun god's sun gate. So I asked the universe, I said, well, what's going on with that? Explain it to me, because, I know Ceremony 1, I said they lifted the pyramids up from the rocks, just came from the sky. And again, this world is it's an absurd world. So anything's possible, really. So if I now know that there's a multiverse beyond what I can see with my own two eyes, I also know that, anything's possible. And so what it explained to me, it said, okay, in this kind of psychedelic realm that you're seeing with these fractals and these, electric colors and, ebbing and flowing in motion, and just kind of a world that you won't see in the waking eye. Something like this, actually. See my Tiva sandals? See like how this color, I'll hold it. The colors are, and how delicate, the lines are. And so if you can imagine, like there was some scenes where it felt like this turned into like waves, like multi-dimensional waves, almost like the rainbow mountains in Peru that you see on Instagram. There was elements of that, but it was very electrified, It was like some sort of house music, festival with the laser lights. Felt like that. And so if you can just kind of figure that kind of scene and then contort it and show like fractals and like, these crazy angles and, motion upon motion and rebirth and growth and just kind of, string theory where you have clusters of dimensions within larger dimensions and it spins around, and it is really cool, man. So that's what it told me. Again, I'm going to believe everything now. And what it told me, it said that these pyramids, the Egyptians, these pre-Inca, those that lived in Tiwanaku, they lived in that universe, that multiverse. And that like these rock kind of structures were a result of that life, that world. I don't know, I can't explain it. It's just that they lived in that universe on the earth, and they're not aliens, they were just, beings that aren't human. Anyway, you probably think I'm nuts, but it's fine. It's all right because I'm happy, and I'm feeling like, I feel like our buzz is wearing off a little bit, because I think we're all getting excited that we're about to come home. And, now we're taking our cameras out, we're all taking photos, we're starting to like get email addresses and phone numbers, and the WhatsApp group, kind of started up, because we know we're going to keep in touch. And I know I'm going to find my communities in New York and around the world, and hopefully you're part of my community too, because I'm going to need people to validate that this was real. Like this wasn't some sort of like Alice in Wonderland trip, and she went down the rabbit hole. Like this is real. It feels real. I'm a believer. It's taken 2 weeks, but I'm there. And I want to continue to be there. I got really excited about the idea about like having God in my life and him being my friend, and ayahuasca being my friend. So I said, Jesus is my homeboy and ayahuasca is my homegirl. So I'm excited about that. So if anything, I'm walking away with, I think, a better way of living. I think I'm a new and improved Sarah, with confidence and with purpose, and, living a good life, and hoping to continue to work with Embolden Adventures and expand this out and make it something profound for you all, to encourage you to be emboldened, to see the world, to, if you have an idea, if you put your mind to something, especially as it pertains to travel and immersing yourself in nature and going scuba diving and, swimming with sharks and wrestling alligators and whatever travel brings to you. This is why I do Embolden Adventures. I want to show you the experiences through my lens, so you can then feel empowered to do it for yourself. I want to see you get out there and travel. I want to see you maybe even come traveling with me. I'm still trying to work out ways to like create trips, group trips, and do something pretty cool. Like, not like, okay, we're all going to Vegas kind of thing, or let's go to Florida. No. We're going to go like to the Amazon rainforest, or like the Himalayan mountains, or like, Africa. Things like that, where it's like, okay, in your wildest dreams, you feel, I'll never do this. That's insane. I can't do something like that. But I'll say, hey, no, you can. It's possible, and it's fun, and it helps you kind of get out of your comfort zone, just like I did. This ayahuasca experience got me out of my comfort zone. I mean, in a very profound way. It helped me to see that there's a world beyond the world we know, and I'm not stuck in the world that I was in. I don't have to be stuck. I'm not supposed to be stuck in the world. I'm supposed to be in charge. I'm supposed to have, myself in the driver's seat, living with purpose and finding what that purpose is. And it's still going to take time. Integration will take time. We'll have an integration team that works with us, and we have this support system that we're honing, and we're going to continue to tap. And like I said, it's validation to say, hey, You experienced it, I experienced it. We talked about this over breakfast. There's no way we made this up. I hope you get to experience ayahuasca. But as I said, disclaimer, I'm not here to tell you to do it, because I think it's a calling, and I think every individual needs to reach this conclusion on their own. And I think you need to do it responsibly. I think the way we've done it here in the environment that we're in, working with the Shipibo people in their traditions, their time-honored traditions, the Icaros, I think, are critical. They really, really kind of bring out these additional higher levels that, you know, just taking a magic mushroom or ayahuasca, you know, brew, I don't think you're going to get the effect ultimately that you may be seeking without the Icaros and without this kind of the totality of this experience, being immersed in nature, being far removed from civilization. I mean, think about it. If you took ayahuasca in Brooklyn, right, one trip in a massive kind of warehouse industrial, you know, setting with a bunch of people you don't even know, and then you have to take the taxi home or like a subway or whatever, like that's not, you're not doing yourself a justice. Like, you're doing yourself a disservice, and it may not be positive. Like, you may get demons and not know how to deal with it. You know, we also have therapists here that are on site working with us individually if we want it, only if we want it. Group sessions, talking through things, sharing, being vulnerable. I mean, a lot of these people I've never met in my life until this week. I feel it's funny. We're writing down our names and phone numbers, and I'm like, wow, I know so much about these people, but yet I didn't even know their last name. I really don't know who they are in the world that they came from, the world I come from. I'm sure they don't know who I am, other than what I've shown, actually my true self. We've shown our vulnerable selves, and people had shared some pretty significant stuff, pretty deep stuff, and it's amazing to see us flourish. As I said, I'm this like brand new like sprout that needs more sun to continue to grow strong, but I think I'm really proud of us. I'm really proud of our team. I'm really proud of how we've really are so freaking brave, man. We did this. Like, this is scary stuff. It could be really scary for some people. We did it. We put ourselves in the unknown and went through the gauntlet. And it was work, but it wasn't like physical work. It wasn't something that like I feel exhausted and I like, you know, my brain hurts from like working too much on a computer or like physically challenged, you know, fear factor sessions. It wasn't anything like that, but it was a totality of work. It was a spiritual work. It was energetic work. It was physical as well. I think my body is improved. I am leaner. I'm cleaner. I'm healthier. I feel energetic. My mind is clear. I am calm. I'm in like a Zen state. I just feel great. I feel great. I'm in this like buzz that's just wonderful. And I hope to keep going with this, which is why the integration, the ongoing practice is going to be critical. I'll be finding myself on the yoga mat a lot more. I was doing a good job with it, but I think I'm going to step it up. I'm going to find myself in nature more. I'm going to continue to go the renewable energy route in kind of revolutionary ways. I'm going to continue the Embolden adventure stuff, communicating and encouraging so you can, what was my calling again? People radiate through God's love. So I want to see you radiate because you decided to get on a plane and go somewhere you always wanted to go. And then you come back and you're like, I was changed because I met X, Y, and Z. I did X, Y, and Z. I tried X, Y, and Z. I saw X, Y, and Z. You know, I never thought I could do it. And now I did it because I was encouraged. And so that's kind of, so like, great, it's God, it's not God. It's love in general. It's me helping you radiate and be your true self. But we all have our own responsibility to do that. And I think another thing I've learned is I don't have to do it by myself. And I don't have to put up like blockades and barriers and emotional kind of, you know, fortresses. And that I do have a beautiful support system, my family, my friends, and I need to open up more and be honest and authentic. So I'm going to do that. And, you know, if things don't serve me at work, if, you know, the stress isn't worth it, it's just not. Like, it really, and that was the other thing, like, what seemed so, like, important or difficult even 3 days ago is, like, nothing now. It's like, fuck that, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world. Nothing is. And that's what I was saying in the beginning, the first ceremony. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Love matters, but nothing else matters. In the grand scheme of things, we are an eternal being. We're of the Creator. We are part of the larger consciousness. We live in a trippy world that we don't realize we live in. You know, there is pain and heartache, but there's also the counter, the joy and love and growth. And one thing Adam, our facilitator, said is we're not human beings, we're human becoming. So we're always learning and growing and, you know, ascending and you know, taking steps back, and then we go forward and we go back. I like this world. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here. This is amazing. I'm happy that I got to meet the Shipibo people. Olga's my favorite. I just want to hug her all day long. I like them all. I'm really glad that they graced their presence with me. It was super cool, man. I mean, even the most superficial of this experience is to say, hey, I'm in the middle of the rainforest, like participating in Amazonian rituals in, you know, in the dark by candlelight, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles away from, you know, home. And as I mentioned, Iquitos is the largest city in the world without any access to roads. So 500,000 people live in this Iquitos area, and we're like maybe 30, 40 minutes removed from Iquitos by boat up a river. And so, yeah, I mean, we're remote, and it feels amazing. It's such a cool experience. On the surface, this is super cool. And I got to meet some super cool people from, you know, Europe and around the world that I know I'm going to continue to keep in touch with. And so, yeah, for what it's worth, this was worth it. But for what it's worth, it was so much more worth it in terms of my spiritual kind of revelations and mind-blowing things. So yeah, so take it for what it is. This is my journey alone, my unique journey, and everyone's is going to be different. So use this as a way of one bit of information to inform you about what it is you do or don't want to do, or want to know about or don't want to know about. But this is my personal experience, and that's all it is. So thanks for listening. I will talk to you again after Ceremony 7. So talk to you later. Be emboldened. Embolden Adventures.